Oh, welcome back to the Live Bold movement. I'm your host, Tierney Shirrell, and I'm super excited because I get to bring you a new friend, and we're going to get to know each other right here on the podcast. So, Petia Kolibova-Burns, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me, Tierney. I was personally so excited, and I want to mention something that we said off the recording because I feel like
Mhm.
these words are not meant just for you. Like when you were saying, like sometimes we are doing our work and we don't even know if others are being impacted or others are listening, right?
Yep.
And when I like found your show and I was looking through your episodes, for me, it was literally a godsend. There was so much information and so much guidance. And I feel like sometimes people are listening or watching or reading, and it's more from the sidelines, right? Like, it's
Yeah.
not like they will message you, like, hey, your podcast changed my life, right? And so I feel like sometimes we are doing things and it feels like, does it really matter? Like sometimes we're like, am I just like throwing it out there and spending my time and energy and money, right?
Hmm.
Does it even make a difference? And I truly believe that if we can impact one person who can impact another one person, this ripple effect, and like you said it, like you want just God's work to be seen,
Mm.
right?
Yep.
And I remember when I started my podcast, now it's 7 years, and my show, it's now
Wow.
top 1.5% globally.
Mhm.
When I started it, I'm like, who would it honestly, Tony, it took me a year and a half of overthinking.
Mhm.
And then, who is now my husband, said he was a podcast. He was like, let's just do it. Week and a half later, I had my show.
Yeah.
Thank God for him, because it helped me open up so many doors, but also so many hearts and so many lives are being changed. And we have over 500,000 downloads. And some of the people, they will never review. Some of the people, they will never talk to us.
Hmm.
But when you have a message on your heart and God is nudging you, and I love that's part of your mission too, the obedience.
Hmm.
You just have to listen even when it doesn't make sense. And honestly, like I'm living proof that when God is guiding us, it doesn't make logically sense. Because if it would be logical, then it wouldn't be His, right?
Amen.
So I wanted to share it because I feel like this is message for someone who is listening and it's sitting
Hmm.
on the message, who is maybe scared to put the book out or the program out or start coaching or start their podcast. Because I know that for me, podcasts were life-changing. At the beginning of my journey, that's what I was brainwashing myself with, the podcasts. And I want you to know, and not just because we are recording and I'm trying to be nice, I'm really being honest and bold, saying that your podcast and your show is changing lives. And it can be maybe the one drop that is coming into someone's bucket that they need that to keep going or to keep showing up. And I know for me as a new Christian, it can be sometimes overwhelming. And sometimes the enemy, it's louder in the head.
Oh, yeah.
But with, of course, the Bible and the community, but also with the shows like yours, we know what's the truth. We know whose daughters we are. And I really want to honor you for the work you're doing. And, this is something that God has pivoted in my journey too. Coming from a new age, I built, multiple six figures. And it's so interesting because I was speaking with, a spiritual mentor, and she was saying, like, I want you just to remember that the success you have built the worldly way, illegally, you can
Hmm.
build it as a Christian.
Hmm.
Because I sometimes feel like we limit ourselves and we are afraid to live boldly. We're afraid to speak. We're afraid to show up because we are trying to be humble, right? But I feel like when I think about God, it's a loving, strong father who wants us to live out, right? So, yeah.
Absolutely. Oh my gosh. I'm like, yeah, that. the message right there. That's it is, and
You're done.
that's why we seriously mic drop. But oh, thank you first of all for saying that. God knew I needed to hear this message today because seriously, I mean, it's just he's really been calling me into a time of a little bit more pulling back and resting and letting him lead me. And, as the personality type, which I think you can relate to, one of the things that really spoke to me about what you filled out in the podcast is about being that too much. Right. And we're afraid to put our voices out there. And you're right. When we're going on the worldly way, that's what we're taught. Like we should be that. But when we're doing it God's way, we're not elevating ourselves. We're trying to elevate his message and his voice and just being that vessel that he can work through. So I would love for you just to share a little bit about that journey of, healing the feeling like you're too much and also just that breakthrough of, because I've been on the same journey of how new age can, for me, it was more it kind of just creeped in and I didn't know any better. And then God really opened my eyes to what I was doing. And yeah, it's quite the ride, right? So I would love for you just to share about how that journey's been for you.
Wild.
Right?
Let's be honest, wild, because there were moments when and I'm very blessed to have, like, I call them friends in fate, like I just couldn't sustain the same relationships as I used to have in the past. Um and God just redirected me to a new people, new community. And I was sharing, I was like, I was thinking when you say yes to God, life gets easier, right? And it felt like you're laughing because
Yes, I know.
I literally felt like the hell
Uh,
broke, like
yeah.
open. I'm like, what is it? Everything got wrong.
Mhm.
Like, and I want to, like back a little bit because like you will understand by the journey, and I will keep it short because we can sit here for like 10 hours and
Yes.
talk fast, right? But it's not so important. But, hence my accent. I grew up in a very small town, very small country, Czech Republic. And I remember when I was a little girl, I wanted to believe there is something more because my stepfather was physically and emotionally abusive. And I was just feeling, and it's just so crazy, but at the same time, not enough and like too much.
Mm,
Like being shut down and being shut up and being pushed. And that led into unhealthy relationship with my body, with men, trying to run away, and also living for performance, right? Like, what do I have to do to be loved? Because
mhm.
I never felt loved growing up. So I was looking for it in the wrong places. But I do vividly remember I was a very little girl. I honestly don't know the timestamp on it if I was like 7, 8, 9.
Mhm.
But by myself, I went to church. By myself, I got my hands on a Bible and I was reading Bible. But back then, I had a big questions for too little girl, and I didn't have the right mentorship. Like, why are people who we love dying? Why there is a bad? Why the bad people have a good things? And all the things that, like, we can still struggle as adults, right?
Absolutely.
But I didn't have the guidance, and so I just drifted away. But there was still this feeling like there must be more to life. So that's what led me to looking for it. There was this yearning inside of me. There must be more. And I don't know what that more is. So I look for it in traveling and relationships. And I, lived in 5 different countries. And then I moved to United States 14 years ago as an international student, exchange student, and started to work here, then started my company 8 years ago. But there was still this like yearning, like no matter how much I achieved, no matter how much I had done, like everything on the check boxes was right,
Hmm.
but I didn't feel right. And then 7 years ago, I met my husband. He grew up in Christian family, but he didn't want to do anything with God when he was growing up. He was like rebelling and things like that. But 3 years ago, we got pregnant and we were pregnant with twins, and I lost the pregnancy, and it completely broke me.
Yeah.
I went through depression, and I told my husband, I want to go to church, but I want to go to church to, like, I wanted to go to spiritual church, like non-denominational. Like, I don't know if you're familiar with Louis Hay. She's a like an author of self-love and
Oh,
healing and
okay.
how emotions show in your body and illnesses. So she was a big part of my journey at the beginning. And I know she used to be preaching in spiritual churches. So I was looking for one in Vegas, but it was during the pandemic, so it
Mm,
was hard. And what we found online, I really didn't like. But I introduced that idea, and my husband, he was like, well, I wanna go to church. And years before that, he interviewed someone on his show who reached out to him and invited him to a Bible study. And literally the rest is history. My husband started to go every, week to Bible study, meeting groups, volunteering in a church. And I was resisting it as a cat can resist water. I just and I was literally feeling that God was really like putting us apart
hmm.
because I felt like I don't want to be Christian. Like, I don't want you to tell me that there is only one way to live. I don't want you to tell me that, like, I was resisting with everything I could, like all of the objections that I could. But my husband, when he became, like, I don't know if it's became or just remember that he's Christian,
Yeah.
he was black and white and he was hardcore, Tierney, hardcore. It was like day and night. And I'm like, this is too much, honey. It was so much for me.
Mhm.
And, so after our loss, when he says, why don't you talk to God? I'm like, because I hate him. How he could take away my babies. Like, why would he do that when he knew how much we wanted them?
Yeah.
And of course, now looking back, I see the timing and I see because I had twins and like I had a loss like 1 month half apart.
Yeah.
One was, lost in
Yeah.
July and one in September.
Yeah.
And it was just really hard. And then in November, we got pregnant with our baby girl, who is, oh my gosh, I told you like 10 boys. She is
Yes.
energetic, alive. She's so brilliant. She's 21 months and she's like putting sentences together. She's like, literally, I always tell her, I'm like, do you know what miracle is? You're a miracle. You're a blessing. Like, we're
Mhm.
praying over food with my husband and she says, Amen and bless. And she talks to, we have a picture of a Jesus on a wall. And
Yeah.
she talks to him because she wants him to go bouncing with her. She's like, G, come. It's hilarious.
The oh, the childlike faith is just so beautiful. Yeah.
It is so beautiful. And so when I was witnessing my husband, it was too much. But then in November last year, we got pregnant again, and I went through another miscarriage. And
Mm.
this time I responded differently. This time in November, we lost the baby. And then in December, I said, God, I want to build my relationship with you.
Mm.
And that was the moment when it felt like the hell literally broke. Like everything that I stood up on
Mhm.
crumbled. Like I
Mhm.
had my business and I was making 10 to 40K months. December, when I declared my relationship with God, I made $300. That never happened in 8 years of my business.
Mhm.
And then in January, I started to struggle with my health. And I'm very holistic and natural, but my teeth, I had like a root canal and crowns and wisdom tooth and struggling. And I'm like, what is this? Like, I'm like, in a new age, it was so much easier. You just manifest your dreams, you just
Yeah.
make your vision board. It's like, but I understand now that the enemy wants it to be easy
Mhm.
because then it's your work. But also, I have to admit, in a new age, it felt very lonely
Yeah.
because it felt like it's all up to me. You know that saying, if it's to be, it's up to me. No,
Yeah.
it's not. And I
Yeah.
don't want it anymore.
Right.
Like, I am learning how to humble myself and to surrender and walk with God. And we are here, like, what is it, 6 months later,
Mhm.
after I said yes to God and Jesus. And I'm not saying it's all peachy, trust me. I am still not walking in a complete certainty and confidence, but I'm walking with Him
Mhm.
because it feels like honestly, I right now feel that I'm in my honeymoon phase with God and I want to enjoy it
Yeah.
because, I used to have like many more clients, many more calls, many more interviews. But like you said, God called you to slow down and
Mhm.
God called me to be with Him because if my calendar is full, then I'm literally spending, and I have a little one, so it has to be before she wakes up and after she goes to sleep.
Yeah.
But I'm spending hours with him, journaling, worshiping, reading Bible, and I really want this to be encouragement. It doesn't have to be for people transitioning from New Age or New Christians, because I feel like, and I see it, no matter where you're on your journey, there are seasons and there are phases. And I feel like there are moments when we can clearly hear God,
Mhm.
when we can clearly feel Him in our lives. Like couple months ago, we went to church with my husband, and during the worship, I like my tears started falling, and I'm like, I don't want to keep crying every time we are in the church. And I literally heard God, not like audible voice, but I know it was him. He's like, when are you going to stop resisting me?
Yeah.
What would your life look like if you give yourself fully to me? And I'm like, oh my gosh. When somebody's in your head and heart and they just know, and
Oh
you
yeah.
can't deny it. I'm like, oh, like what can you, it's not like you're nagging to your husband, like, no, babe. No, like God, it's like,
Oh, I have a long history of arguing with God when he yes. I'm like, wait, what? You sure? Really? Me?
yep.
What? Yeah. Totally get it.
And so that was like the first time that I really hear from him. And then he said, and it's so beautiful because it was like a beautiful like confirmation for me, Turney. So thank you so much. Because a couple months ago, God told me I want more Christian women to be visible because there is too much noise.
Yeah.
And I want more Christian women to be heard, to be seen. I want them to be visible because not everyone believes and not everyone can hear God,
Yep.
but people listen to people. So God needs us as the vessels to speak through us. And that's when I shifted from being, business coach for female entrepreneurs to be visibility coach and
Mm,
helping women to be seen more. And now, mind you, I used to teach women how to make multiple five-figure months. Nothing wrong with wanting financial security, but we have to have our priorities. So now learning how to put God first and put his needs first, because
mhm,
of course he's God, he can do anything. And like I said, people hear people. So
mhm,
how can I empower women with all the things that I have learned? It's like I have a marketing degree, I have MBA, I have, I used to have social media marketing agency for a couple of years, and I help so many women to start and scale their businesses.
mhm.
How can I now use it for his kingdom? So that's when like he spoke to me, and I feel like sometimes we can hear him clearly, and there are times that it feels like quiet.
Mhm.
And I feel like it's that quiet time when he can speak through others. Like you said, honestly, today, like, I'm glad you said it because I needed to hear it. Like, how could I know?
Yeah.
Right? Like, that's just really being guided by Holy Spirit and being
Mhm,
obedient. You and me, we truly believe in that. We get to be obedient,
mhm.
whether we feel like it or whether we don't. Trust me, there's a lot of times I'm like, God, do you want me just to be stay-at-home mama? Like, just give us enough money so I can help with the house. And but I know he equipped me for so much more. And listen, being mother, it's everything. It's I don't want to say 24/7 because it feels like 107.
Right.
You know it. It's like it's literally
Yeah.
nonstop.
Mhm,
Um, so I'm really blessed. I'm so blessed to be mother because I know so many women they can't.
mhm,
Um, and so I feel like when we let God speak through us, we can connect so much deeper with him when we trust him and when we obey. So that's kind of my journey, and it's ongoing, and I will definitely keep you posted because it feels so wild, and I feel like he didn't settle me yet in. I had my husband's mentor who is, Christian. He's such an amazing man. He messaged me a couple weeks ago and he's like, Petia, I saw this ad and it made me think of you, and I think you should check it out. And I'm like, yeah, just send me one more thing to think about, right?
right.
He sent me a course of natural fertility coach, and I'm getting certified now as a natural fertility
Oh,
coach
that's amazing.
because I feel like I'm using everything and all that God gave me, right, in my past business.
Mhm.
but I also get to be obedient with what's coming and feels right, even if it makes complete no sense. And honestly, Tierney, I've been studying like fertility for past 3 years. We work with naturopaths and midwives and doulas, and thanks to my podcast, I have interviewed some top, like natural doctors and everything. And I feel like so many women are not realizing how, whether, they want to have more babies or not, like fertility is also, of course, linked to our hormones and well-being. And there's just so much we don't know. And as I'm going and learning more, it astounds me of how dangerous the world can be and how is it really like normalized and it shouldn't be.
Mm-hmm. Oh, absolutely. Oh, I love that. And it's amazing to see too, it just how we can look back and how God has used your own journey now in these. And I see like those quiet times, those are the preparation times, right? Like he's drawing you nearer to him because you're drawing near to him. And so he will draw near to you. That scripture
Yeah.
tells us. And it's beautiful to see like how he's just like preparing in this season for something amazing. So I can't wait to just stay connected and just learn more about you. And what a beautiful message. And I'm just so grateful to have you here on the show.
You. Thank you so much.
Yes, absolutely. Well, I know I want to be respectful of your time because I know you're getting back to mama and family vacation and everything. So, how can people connect with you and yeah, and stay connected?
I love that question. I feel like the best way it's really on my Instagram. That's how
Mhm.
we connected.
Yep.
I get to be honest, I'm just more in mamahood and nature time right now and my honeymoon with God. So I'm not as, like I used to be there like every day, all day. And I do check now, but it's not my top priority. But
Mhm.
that's the best place to really connect with me. Like,
Mhm.
please, like, make sure that you review this podcast with 5 stars, not pushing anything on, but honest review with 5 stars because it's really brilliant and we want more people to be reached and touched and changed. And after you do that, please tag us on your stories on Instagram. Let us know what inspired you from this podcast, what takeaways and also what resonated with you. And if you have any questions or maybe if you've been on similar journey to draw closer to God and pivoting in your life and business, message me. I would love to connect. Just DM me. I do all of my DMs, or just check out my website, petiakolibova.com, which Tierney will put in the show notes because nobody can pronounce it. You did fantastic, though. You did fantastic. But
Right.
it's like, hey, what? So those would be, or my podcast that we renamed and now it's called Made for Impact.
Love it. Yes, we will absolutely. All the links will be in the show notes. And yes, let me just second that. Like I always because I love and receive so much from other people's podcasts. Like I always make it a point to take that screenshot and post like a really impactful quote or, just to send that DM. And yes, like the real people are behind this and they want to hear that. Like it truly, I mean, that's not what it's for. It's not about the validation. It's that encouragement that you are getting God's message out there, and that it is important. And like you said, if it just impacts one person, it is worth it. So if you're on the receiving end, send that DM, make the post. And if you're that one who's thinking about it, just start. Just start. Like it doesn't have to look fancy. It doesn't have to, just start messy and do the thing because there's somebody out there who needs your message. And so thank you so much for sharing. And I would love for you just to tell everybody what living bold means to you.
I feel like for me, it's living God's truth, even when it feels scary. And just moving aside who I think I should be in the world and being who He created me to be. Because that usually goes against the grain and against everyone and against the world. So, really being true to who I am and relearning and remembering what does it mean to be a daughter of a king.
Hmm. All right. We started with a mic drop and we end with one. That was beautiful. Thank you so much.
You're amazing. Thank you.